The next few weeks are shaping up to be quietly decisive at Ibrox, and there is a familiar name beginning to circle back into the conversation just as the winter window creeps closer. Among the Rangers' support, there's a growing sense that something is stirring beneath the surface, not fueled by hype, but by circumstance, timing, and opportunity. Football has a way of reopening doors when paths begin to narrow elsewhere, and that reality is now placing a former midfield favourite firmly back in focus as the season reaches a critical point. Joe Aribo's situation has shifted significantly in recent months, and the picture at Southampton no longer looks like one of long-term stability. Once viewed as a key part of their rebuild, his role has gradually faded, and the signs are pointing towards a parting of ways when January arrives. His minutes have dried up, his influence has waned, and despite flashes of quality when given the chance, the broader direction suggests his future may lie away from the South Coast. For Rangers supporters, that naturally reignites memories of his most productive and celebrated spell when his energy, intelligence, and timing from midfield brought balance and bite to the side. There is an important context to this situation. Aribo's move away from Glasgow was driven by ambition and the desire to test himself in a different environment, and initially that path made sense. Yet, since Southampton's drop from the top flight, his trajectory has taken an unexpected dip, marking another difficult chapter in a career that once felt firmly on the rise. Falling down the pecking order, struggling for consistent selection, and watching matches from the sidelines can quickly change a player's outlook, especially when confidence and rhythm are so closely tied to minutes on the pitch. Despite all of that, his standing among the Rangers' support has barely shifted. That night in the Europa League final remains etched in club memory, not just because of the goal itself, but because it symbolized belief, bravery, and presence on the biggest stage. Moments like that endure long after transfer news fades, and they shape how a player is remembered. For many fans, Aribo still represents unfinished business, a footballer whose peak years were intertwined with one of the club's most memorable European runs in recent history. What adds further intrigue is the contractual situation now unfolding. With his deal entering its final stretch and a modest fee reportedly enough to facilitate a move, the financial barrier no longer feels prohibitive. That alone elevates the discussion from nostalgia to possibility. Interest from abroad has been mentioned, but there is a sense that familiarity, trust, and the chance to feel central again could weigh heavily in his thinking. A return to a place where he knows the demands, understands the expectations, and feels genuinely valued can be difficult to ignore when faced with another uncertain restart elsewhere. From a Rangers perspective, the appeal is equally clear. This is not about sentiment alone. The current campaign is relentless, fixtures are stacking up, and control in midfield is increasingly vital. Someone with Aribo's versatility, composure under pressure, and eye for late runs into the box offers tactical flexibility without the need for long adaptation. He knows the league, knows the intensity of the calendar, and crucially knows what it means to play with responsibility when margins are thin. Of course, whether such a move materializes depends on more than just availability. Aribo's own words in the past spoke of growth beyond familiar surroundings, and that ambition has not disappeared. Yet football careers are rarely linear, and progression sometimes comes from recalibration rather than constant movement forward. A return north would not represent a step backwards, but rather a chance to reset momentum at a club where his strengths are understood and his best football has already been proven. While that storyline develops, Rangers have also received a timely lift as the winter schedule tightens its grip. The fear of losing multiple key players to international duty had been hanging over preparations for weeks, threatening to stretch an already demanding period even further. Depth becomes fragile in December, and any unexpected absence can ripple through the entire structure of a team. Initially, there was an expectation that two midfield options would be unavailable during the Africa Cup of Nations, forcing adjustments at a moment when continuity is priceless. That outlook has now changed, and the impact should not be underestimated. The confirmation that Mohamed Diomande will remain in Glasgow through the tournament reshapes the immediate planning and offers stability where it matters most. His role in dictating tempo, breaking transitions, and maintaining discipline has grown steadily, making his availability a significant boost. Diaman's omission from the final international squad reflects the fine margins at that level rather than a decline in form. Limited recent involvement and fierce competition ultimately worked against him, but for Rangers, the consequence is overwhelmingly positive, keeping him through the festive program and into the opening days of January provides a level of assurance that had previously been missing from the equation. There is added importance in what that means for the matches to come, although suspension will rule him out of European action in the immediate term. His swift return domestically ensures continuity at the heart of the side. His presence in the build-up to the New Year derby is particularly significant, a fixture where midfield control often dictates the narrative and where every duel carries weight beyond the 90 minutes. While one international departure cannot be avoided, the situation now feels manageable rather than disruptive. What once threatened to be a double blow has softened into a calculated challenge, one that allows the coaching staff to plan with clarity rather than react in haste. In a season where momentum is everything, these small shifts can quietly shape the bigger picture, and Rangers enter this phase with more control than they might have expected only weeks ago. As the calendar edges closer to the turn of the year, the mood around Ibrox feels increasingly shaped by anticipation rather than anxiety. This is the phase of the season where small advantages can snowball, where having the right balance of experience, fitness, and continuity often proves decisive. Rangers find themselves navigating that space with careful optimism, aware that the decisions made in the coming weeks could define not only the league race, but the broader narrative of the campaign. The midfield remains central to that discussion, not just in terms of personnel, but in how the team wants to control matches during this congested period. The tempo of Scottish football in winter rarely allows for prolonged dominance without resistance, and Rangers have learned repeatedly that resilience and adaptability are just as important as flair. Having reliable options who can absorb pressure, recycle possession, and step forward when needed becomes crucial when legs grow heavy and margins tighten. That is why the evolving transfer picture continues to attract such attention. January windows are often volatile, driven by opportunity as much as planning, and Rangers are no strangers to using this period to fine-tune rather than overhaul. Any potential addition would need to complement what is already in place, adding depth and understanding rather than disruption. Familiarity with the club's demands, the league's physicality, and the weight of expectation that comes with the shirt all factor into that equation. Beyond the immediate speculation, there is also an internal challenge taking shape. Competition for places has intensified, and that can be healthy at this point in the season. Players know that performances now carry added weight, not just for results on the pitch, but for their standing moving into the decisive months ahead. Training intensity rises, focus sharpens, and standards are quietly reinforced as every session becomes a statement of intent. The festive run often exposes weaknesses in squad balance, yet Rangers appear better placed than many to cope with the strain. Rotations are no longer purely reactive, and there is a growing sense that the team can maintain structure even when changes are required. That stability breeds confidence, and confidence in turn tends to translate into sharper execution when matches are decided by moments rather than patterns of play. Looking ahead, the significance of early January looms large. Matches that arrive straight after the turn of the year can carry psychological weight disproportionate to their timing, setting tones and narratives that echo long after. Preparation for those fixtures is not just about tactics or fitness, but about having the right voices and personalities on the pitch. Players who understand what these occasions demand and who can manage both tempo and emotion. There is also the European context to consider. Balancing domestic ambition with continental commitments remains one of the club's defining challenges, and it places additional emphasis on squad depth and mental resilience. European nights bring intensity and exposure, but they also test recovery cycles and focus, particularly when domestic fixtures offer little margin for error in between. In that sense, every piece of good news around availability matters. Keeping key figures through this period reduces the need for compromise and allows for consistent partnerships to develop. Midfield combinations benefit from repetition, defensive units from trust, and attacking movements from understanding that only comes with shared minutes. These are the details that often separate strong finishes from faltering ones. Supporters, too, play their part in this dynamic. As winter tightens its grip, atmosphere becomes a genuine factor, especially at Ibrox, where energy from the stands can shift momentum in an instant. Players draw on that connection during difficult spells, and maintaining belief through demanding stretches often feeds back into performances on the pitch. It becomes a shared effort, one driven by expectation but sustained by unity. There is still uncertainty, as there always is in football. Transfer talks may accelerate or stall, form may fluctuate, and unforeseen challenges can emerge without warning. Yet Rangers appear to be entering this phase with more clarity than chaos, more options than limitations. That alone creates a platform from which momentum can be sustained, provided discipline and focus remain intact. As the season edges towards its defining chapters, the sense around the club is not one of rushed urgency, but measured readiness. Decisions feel informed rather than impulsive, responses planned rather than reactive. It is within that environment that Rangers now push forward, aware that consistency in these weeks can quietly lay the groundwork for something far more significant as spring approaches. Another layer to this period is the mental resilience required to manage expectation. Rangers operate in an environment where every performance is dissected and every drop point amplified, particularly as the title picture sharpens. Players are acutely aware that momentum is fragile and that sustaining it demands concentration beyond the obvious matchday moments. Training habits, recovery routines, and decision-making under fatigue all become part of the unseen battle, one that often defines how teams emerge from the winter stretch. There is also a sense that leadership within the squad is evolving as the season progresses. Responsibility is no longer confined to a handful of voices, with different figures stepping forward depending on the challenge in front of them. That shared ownership can be vital when fixtures arrive thick and fast, allowing standards to be upheld even when rotation is required. It creates an internal rhythm, one where accountability is collective rather than imposed, and where performances are driven by pride as much as instruction. From a broader perspective, this phase offers Rangers a chance to shape how the rest of the campaign is approached. Staying competitive on all fronts demands more than talent. It requires consistency of mindset and clarity of purpose. Every match feeds into the next, and the cumulative effect of small wins, hard-fought draws, and controlled performances can build a platform that carries belief forward. In that sense, what happens now is not about immediate reward, but about positioning the team to strike with conviction when the season reaches its most decisive moments. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The football world is buzzing in a way we haven't seen in decades as whispers along the terraces suddenly seem to have taken a terrifyingly real turn. Andrew Cavenagh, once thought to be a name safely lodged in the maybe one-day category, has allegedly been at the heart of what could be the most shocking swap in Scottish football history. Sources close to the clubs insist that talks have been nothing short of explosive, and while official channels have remained coy, insiders suggest the impossible has been hatched behind closed doors. Imagine the shockwaves running through the city of Glasgow, blue and green scarves trembling in disbelief. Rangers and Celtic, long-standing adversaries whose clashes are steeped in history, might be looking at a deal that could rewrite rivalries overnight. Andrew Cavenagh, a player whose flair and unpredictability have ignited countless debates among pundits, is rumored to be the pivotal piece in this potential exchange. For fans, the idea alone is enough to provoke sleepless nights, whispered speculation in local pubs, and furious scrolling through forums looking for scraps of confirmation. The murmurs suggest the swap isn't just a tactical maneuver, it's an audacious gamble, a move that could redefine club strategies on both sides. Some insiders hint at intricate negotiations that went down under the radar, meetings in shadowy corners of the city, and perhaps even a deal that caught players themselves off guard. In football terms, it's the kind of rumor that turns casual supporters into armchair detectives overnight, analyzing every press snippet, every social media hint, desperate for any crumb of evidence that it's actually happening. And yet the city holds its breath. The Rangers faithful, usually quick to deride anything Celtic, find themselves in a surreal limbo of curiosity and trepidation, while Celtic supporters whisper anxiously about what this could mean for their squad. Could Andrew Cavenagh really handle the pressure of such a seismic shift? Could the fiery tension between these two footballing institutions survive a deal like this? Only those in the inner circle know for sure, but as the rumour mill churns, one thing is clear: Scottish football may be on the brink of one of its most extraordinary chapters ever. Fans are left to debate, to speculate, and perhaps to dream. After all, if this swap is confirmed, the Glasgow skyline will never look quite the same again, and Andrew Cavanagh's name will be etched in football folklore as the player who turned a rivalry on its head. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, Stay tuned